We're still on the program this morning on ITV, right here on the network of the independent television. Now, over the past few days, the Nigerian Senate has been engulfed in a significant controversy, of course, involving Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. The dispute first came to limelight with what we all thought was sitting arrangement discrepancies within the Senate. But then we saw Senator Natasha accuse Senate President Akpabio of making inappropriate advances towards her during a visit to his residence in Akwa State. Interestingly, her husband was actually there on the same day that she claims the incident took place. However, in response to these allegations, Unoma Akpabio, the wife of the Senate President, has filed 2 lawsuits against Senator Natasha at the Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja. A lot of things have gone down, a lot of comments, a lot of conversations have surrounded the whole incident, and it brings to mind the fact that the Senate is a place where everyone is supposed to look up to, and right now seeing such conversations, such incidents, such issues cropping up from there, one would say, is it okay there? Is this a political battle? Is this a gender battle? But today we're going to be focusing on the issue about the gender disparity, of course in the Senate and generally as we gear up towards International Women's Day on Saturday. My guest this morning, or our guest this morning, because of course I know Oluwapo Stevens is still here with me, is a public affairs analyst in the person of Chris Ojekere. Good morning and welcome.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Now I'm going to start off with the question, do you think this controversy in the Senate is actually purely political, or it takes a personal dimension, and do you think it has anything to do with gender bias?
Well, it's funny the different ways Nigerians chose to react to very clear issues. I don't know where we got that from, but I think it's a very self-deprecating and diminishing attitude. Yeah. All over the world, people are living up to realities. They are living up and facing facts and dealing with it as humans. But here we have chosen what some people call diplomacy, or that call whatever they are calling it, you know, to run away from facts. It's a simple and very straightforward matter of an inordinate chemistry that the Senate President has allowed himself to emit in a very wrong direction. Yes. The woman was not speaking in innuendos. She was speaking directly. And the journalists, thanks to them, of Arise TV, asked her directly. And she accused the Senate President of sexual harassment. And then went on to narrate and illustrate that sexual harassment. So that is the issue on ground. The issue on ground is that the woman, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, is saying that the libidinous propensity of the Senate President is hampering legislative duties. It's hampering her legislative duties to her people, and it's hampering legislative duties to Nigerians, and I'll tell you why.
All right, so before you tell us why, we're going to take a very short break, and when we come back, we'll get to hear your reasons for that. Please stay with us. I guess Chris Ojekere was actually talking about the issues surrounding Senator Akpabio and, of course, Senator Natasha. So I'll let him take off from where he stopped.
So I was going to give you an example or to illustrate how the dangling pendulum between the feet of some people is affecting progress in Nigeria. According to Natasha's story, which was cleared there at Arise TV, she had attempted to read a bill in the floor of the House 6 times. And that bill had to do with the Ajaokuta steel industry. The steel industry we have in Nigeria, if developed, will be competing with China in manufacturing. We have one of the best steel to melt in Nigeria. Russia had worked on that factory at Ajaokuta. They were frustrated out. We still have that steel deposit. such huge economic viable projects, a senator is going to read the bill with respect to it that should have engaged Nigerians in discussion and begin to think of how to diversify away from oil and develop other alternative economic base. Because of the libidinous propensity of certain people as accused, that bill was turned down for 6 times. And according to her, it was actually the deputy Senate president who eventually gave her the opportunity to do that reading. These are the issues Nigeria should be focusing on. I'm not trying to take sides according to what they think they can benefit, or this succumbing to the big man syndrome that has crippled our mentality. Men no longer have balls. You find senators who are ready to swear to death that where they were not, that the things that was said to have happened there didn't happen, because they want legislative positions or they want some kind of connections. We are subjugating our humanity and we are subjugating our human dignity to the big man syndrome. So Akpoti is, as far as I'm concerned, a revolutionary, a hero. I mean, I want to please advise the president. This grab and run philosophy of his government, the lieutenants have interpreted it to disastrous consequences. What we have now is a grab and run regime.
Okay, allegedly, I wouldn't admit that.
No, oh, well, by my own observation, and I'll give you examples. I talk with examples. In Abuja, a very close lieutenant of the president is being accused of primitive acquisition. He's been accused of land grabbing all over. The thing is so, the accusation is so numerous that I don't know how many he's going to deny. And it's coming from several quarters. We are still on that. And then we are having a man grabbing a woman's hand inordinately and almost running with it if the woman didn't have some self-discipline, according to Akpoti.
Yeah.
We in Lagos State, we are having a speaker grabbing a seat, even when 36 members of the House say we don't want you. In Edo State, we are having a governor grabbing elected seats from those who have been appointed. In Rivers State, we are having Supreme Court judgment making its own laws, defeating its own laws, because it was Supreme Court judgment who insisted that you must have elected legislative council chairman and councillors. Yes. And now a governor goes ahead to do that. The same Supreme Court said they should not give them allocation. So the big man mentality and syndrome, the fear of the president and the acquiescence to his philosophy of grab and run is leading the country into disastrous realities, where the country is in a state of anomie. There's tension on every hand. It has not boiled forth now because people are taking position for 2027. But by the time it gets to 2027, it's going to boil forth. And then we are going to begin to see this simmering undercurrent, what is going to bubble up to. There's just so much that people will take. There's too much impunity. His lieutenants are running wide. They are behaving the way they like. The case before us and in court is that a woman has come out in the Senate. She's a distinguished senator, and we saw it live when she was being humiliated. And you are telling me of Senate rules. Which rules?
Right, so speaking about humiliation and everything, there's been a lot of controversies that has been flying around since the start of this Natasha Akpoti syndrome, I would love to call it. Now, one of the major issues on the front burner is the issue of gender politics. Now, what role do you think gender politics actually played in all of this, considering the fact that we heard allegations of misconduct and also marginalization and also discrimination as well, because Natasha clearly stated out that she wanted to speak several times. She even had to use the court order, is it court order 10 or something, but she still wasn't granted the permission to speak. And according to her, that was like an SOS that any senator could use and fly around it, but that did not work. Now, in all of this, the issue of gender politics, how has it played out in Nigeria?
Not only that didn't work, she even had to beg her husband to appeal, and the husband has confirmed that he did appeal to the Senate president. Now, the gender conundrum that you have is being festered by, because you women have not taken gender as you've colonized gender. I know you have male and female gender, but when we speak to gender, now we are talking of female.
Yeah.
Yes, it's being festered by you women yourself. I would expect Senator Kingibe Ireti to be standing with Akpoti now, heads tall, and then argue out her point. Because she herself, as she admits, has been changed 4 times. She hasn't given us the reason why her seats have been moved 4 times. And she thinks in her, well, not acceptable logic to me, that that is maturity. It isn't maturity. That's not the kind of maturity we want. The law is made for the lawless. If you have not broken the law should not be applied against you. If the man who is supposed to execute the law is breaking the law, then you speak out. That's what we call social revolution. That's what Akpoti is about. You cannot. So if she was going to be moved around the 109 seats in the Senate, she will score that maturity. She'll keep moving from seat to seat. Why is she being moved? So I had expected that she would get up and speak, because we say we want to encourage our gender to participate in politics. And we have only 4, the lowest number we have had since 1999 experiment. And even the 4 would not be heard. They are even begging to be heard. And what Akpoti was going to present, and that must be kept in focus, was such an important bill. So what was the Senate president for rejecting her 6 times? In the Senate, they didn't remember the law at that time to say the Senate rules also says that the senator has the right to be heard if she follows the right order, which she follows for 6 times. Nobody's remembering that. I'm surprised that Kingibe has conveniently forgotten that. And now she's remembering the law, that there are Senate rules. The rules were made for man, not man for the rules. They should apply to everybody, and they should apply properly, appropriately. So I think here that there is what you may refer to as chauvinism. Akpabio has always shown chauvinistic tendencies. And probably that is the reason he thinks that any Omokupa in the house belongs to him. So I mean, I said probably, according to accusation.
What is Omokupa?
Okay, well, ask your colleagues. You know. Oh my God. So there's chauvinism here. And that is why, because if it was a man, they probably would have boxed by now. You can't keep a fellow man, refusing the fellow man from speaking his mind 6 times. You can't keep me from speaking my mind 6 times. Could he keep Oshomole from speaking his mind 2, 3 times? He wouldn't do that. But because this is a woman, she shouted down. And then 6 times she has attempted, she shouted down. And now she says, okay, I have to now be a woman. We are more emotional. And we are known to show our emotions. And she did. It's very natural. There's nothing against her truth. That's a natural response. That's a natural response of a woman, after you have pushed her to the wall. So if people have lost their reason, I haven't lost mine. Akpabio should be called to order. If you steal elections, like they conspire to steal those elections, you can also steal people's wives, according to accusation.
Let's take you back to what you said earlier on regarding the fact that Senator Natasha actually passed through her husband to tell the Senate president to at least let her speak, let her talk in the House. Now, in reversal, okay, we got to see that the wife of the Senate president actually filed lawsuits against her. This is a woman speaking for her husband in the other way. Recently, I think yesterday, we found out that Akpabio actually, in a way, tried to apologize. I wouldn't call it an apology. I would just say he tried to settle the matter. But still, I don't feel like it's going to settle the matter. What is your take on that?
The matter in 2 parts. First of all, what Mrs. Akpabio did, I mean, is commendable. Stand with your husband, whatever the issue. Yes, it hasn't got to the point where she should go against her husband publicly. So that's commendable. I mean, it's a similar thing that Hillary did when this kind of issue came up with Bill Clinton. Yes, but that they didn't deny. They were always standing with each other. So taking her to court is what I find fault with. She went too fast, trying to apply, I don't know what to call it. It's certainly not a solution. I call it intimidation. Trying to intimidate her with the powers and prestige and influence of the husband's office. That's why she went to court. She shouldn't have gone to court. As she herself said, they are friends. Yes. And I mean, everyone says they are family friends. So has she exhausted the mechanism of family friendship? So why rush to court? Why suddenly go to court? So that move itself is jittery. It shows that you are trying to browbeat, Akpoti. But Akpoti is not the kind of lady that you browbeat. So now there was another part to your question.
All right, the aspect of is it okay that a woman is fighting for her husband?
Yeah,
and
that's okay.
in the other aspect,
Yes.
the man was actually trying to help the wife. Why do we have to speak through the men in our lives? Why do we have to go through them? Why can't you speak for yourself?
I don't see this one as speaking through the men in quotes. I see it as exhausting all sources
options,
of trying to find solution. Okay, if I have tried to, because she herself had tried several times to approach him. When he became unapproachable, according to her, she now had to appeal to the husband. Please help me approach him, he's your friend. And then he did. And a few other people that she approached to help approach the Senate president. And they did. When it all failed, she had nowhere to go than to resort to her emotions. And that's what she did.
All right, so tell me, what does this all say about the credibility of the Senate as an institution? Did this matter have to come to the public? Did it have to come to the public eye? Couldn't they have resolved the crisis internally without it skyrocketing to this level?
There is only one way crises are resolved. And Danfodo gave that philosophy in The Guardian. You find it in The Guardian as their slogan. Conscience is an open wound. Only truth can heal it. You own up to... She didn't, you haven't crossed the Rubicon. You have only attempted, and then it failed. It fell short. What he would have done, if the accusation is true, is that he would have told himself that it was foolish what he was doing. I don't want to go to the ethical issue, because I don't want to whip up certain sentiment, because we're talking of friend's wife here.
Exactly.
You get the point, and as far as I'm concerned, that's a religious, ethical, cultural, there are so many things tied to that. So I don't want to emphasize that. So as to be able to, because I'm also trying to find solution here. Yeah, so the solution is that the way it would have been resolved, because if there have been arbiters who have tried to arbitrate secretly, like the husband of the woman and so on and so forth, was a round table talk, and say, okay, I'm sorry, I don't know what came upon me, but you will never hear this again. And it would have been resolved. But we are too big, once we occupy seats in Nigeria, to be able to even admit our own feelings that are even human. I mean, it's natural for any man to see a woman, and then the devil will speak to your ear. It is yours to resist. And when you could not resist and the devil has disgraced you, you own up, so that the devil will not disgrace you the next time. You own up and say, well, I don't know what came upon me, but I'm sorry, this won't happen again. And it should have been resolved among friends behind closed doors. So what else could the woman have done when you are not resolving it? If you are bent on having your way, and the woman is bent on maintaining her integrity.
Really? So I wonder why we always tend to blame the poor devil when some certain situations come on board.
He deserves everything he's getting.
But really, away from that, I would love us to talk about women participation in politics. Because just as you said, we have just 4 females currently, and they are not really vocal, except from Natasha. And I think Ireti Kinkibe had a particular issue with the senator some time ago. And interestingly, Akpoti actually supported her during that period. So it's shocking to see how she's responding to this case at this point. Just recently, Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, has joined other Nigerian lawmakers in calling for a 35% affirmative action for women in the legislature. How would this work?
I should ask you, if women have become endangered species in the upper chamber, how would it work? Because I tell you now, the silence you hear, you are hearing some silence. It's very, very deep and meaningful. Men are ruminating. And many of them are beginning to look at the ambitions of their wife and wonder whether they should let their wife loose. Because nobody is reining in. People with inordinate ambition, negative attitudes, executive recklessness, and all the kind of things we are seeing in the country. And if nobody is reining them in and they're becoming too powerful, you want to set your wife up. So, so go into troubled waters where there's no protection for her. So this will further affect affirmative action. Because many of these women would have to listen to their husbands who will say, no, you can't go there. I don't have a wife to share. You get the point? So what we thought we should be saying is the opposite of what we are saying. We thought we should be saying that the leadership is encouraging young ones like you to come into politics. Because we have a lot of women with cognitive abilities to be able to manage resources and affairs of the land. And if men have decided to lose their balls and they are fawning around one individual once he gets a particular position, then let women who can speak out go there and begin to speak out about, so that we can have some development and some progress. It's all just a circus. And every reasonable person is angry, but people are so afraid to talk. What are they afraid of? I mean, we don't want to go into all the things that we know until they are necessary for us to go into them. These are not things that are just starting. There are precedences. There is even an antecedent slap in connection to this kind of things. So the point is that women should be encouraged. If women can be bank executives, and they can be CEOs of different corporations, and they can be lecturers and university chancellors, why would women be able to, or be allowed? Allowed is the word now. Because why there is discrimination from chauvinism, we also now beginning to have discrimination from libidinous tendencies. So we should ensure that women are allowed to participate in politics, they are safe, and their husband will be happy that they can send their wives there and receive their wife back in one piece.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about some women supporting women. There's a school of thought that if a woman comes out to say she wants to attain a position of leadership, especially politically, you tend to see that a lot of women will pull back. They may, on the surface, do or behave like they want to support her. But when it comes to the day of actual voting, you tend to see that, in fact, maybe just one woman actually voted for that woman. What would you say to women out there, especially as regards supporting other women to achieve such positions?
I have taken pains to count the support base of Akpoti since these issues. The frontliners against Akpoti publicly are women folk. Ireti Kingibe, the former senator representing somewhere around Cross River, what's her name? Itagiwa. And all of that. I'm not with Akpoti. I'm not with Akpoti. I'm not with Akpoti. The reason is because when dry bones are mentioned in a proverb, senile women get very uneasy. I'm quoting Achebe, that when dry bones are mentioned in the proverb, the old women get uneasy. You get the point? Many of them live in the periphery of such immorality. These are public things known. I'm not afraid to say them. So when you have a champion, they don't want to support. Apart from that, you have inherent pettiness that we men can never understand about you women. I've walked on streets and seen a lady. We just be looking at a fellow lady. She will eye from head to foot. She doesn't know her from Adam. Yeah. You won't find such things with men. You get the point? So it's inherent. There's competition. You want to have your space. And when another person is in that space, you feel competition. But I thought that those things should be ephemeral. And then you overlook the competition and actually support your own. So women don't have to worry. Women are there to tear themselves down. Do you understand that? Men don't worry. You can see the men in the National Assembly now. You can see the tacit conspiracy of silence. Not because they are afraid, but because that's man for you.
Yes. But the other day, the chief whip of the Senate came out to speak regarding this issue.
Yeah, no, you can have one or two exceptions.
Right.
But we have a 109, then -4, we are 105.
Okay.
And you are expected to hear the kind of voice you are hearing now in the Senate and deal with it as an issue. But men don't betray men easily like that.
Okay, so now we're saying women betray women.
Yes, no, honestly, they do.
All right, we're going to take a short break,
Yes.
and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. It's actually really getting interesting, so stay with us. Hi, this is This Morning on ITV Wednesday edition. And we'll be talking about the Senator Akpabio and, of course, Senator Natasha saga. We're going to be moving over to the Lagos State House of Assembly. Of course, the political landscape of Lagos State has witnessed a dramatic turn of events, of course, with the reinstatement of Mudashiru Obasa as the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly. And, of course, Miranda Mojishola also stepping down recently. A very, very, very short-lived tenure, if I do say so myself. So I'm going to be talking with our guest, Christopher Ojekere, a little bit about that. What do you make out of all of this?
It's very clear.
Okay.
I mean, 36 people took a decision. And I remember, I think it was the member representing the, is it Solo constituency or, I think it's Solo constituency, who said they took this decision And they will soon let Lagosians know that it's their decision and they are standing by it. He said that around 17th of January. By the 3rd of March, which is less than 3 weeks from that statement, we suddenly see something going on. Obasa returns from wherever he went. Miranda had security aides before then. Suddenly they withdrew her security aides. And then Obasa, the impeached speaker, had DSS and everybody with him, forced himself into the assembly. And the way the assembly responded to that was for Miranda to resign. Resign her position as speaker, step down, and Obasa is to be sworn in as speaker.
Looking at this in the aspect of women in politics,
yes.
Let's look at how short-lived her tenure was. And do you think that it has to do with the fact that she's a woman? Would it have happened if it was a man?
This particular one has nothing to do with women.
Okay.
What this one has to do with is that the 34 or 36 people didn't remember who brought them and put them in the House of Assembly. So by the time the person who made the way for them to become legislators got to know that they took a decision without first coming to tell him and ask him, he told them that he wanted Obasa back. And that's what we're saying here. That's what it is. 36 people's will representing Lagos, cosmopolitan Lagos, are controlled by one man. And that is why a man who has been impeached, and they gave all the reasons for the impeachment. And even after the so-called reconciliation, go and listen to the comments of different, what do you call them, legislators. None of them have changed their opinion about the character of the person they impeached and the character of Miranda. They all praised Miranda, and these were men talking. They praised her for bringing back unity, for restoring, relationship, cordiality, and unity in the house, and so on and so forth. But then they say the party is supreme.
Now, would it be right to say Mudashiru Obasa has been forgotten, all his deeds have been forgotten, or he has just been forgiven?
So, you understand that? And then the deeds are not what you forgive personally. Because you don't impeach on personal feelings, nuances, or idiosyncrasy. Yes. You impeach on statutory constitutional provisions. And you have no right to forgive it.
Right.
Once you have brought it to the public, then it is now him against the state, so to speak. So you can't forgive him. You have to follow the law and your book according to Reti Kingibe. But where is the law and the book now? So Obasa has been forgiven because everything has been personal.
Okay, so as we're trying to round up the conversation, there are those who believe that all of the things that's played out so far have just been scripted, because Obasa came and he said, Mojisola is going to resign. Mojisola said, I'm not going to resign. And eventually we saw her resign and reading the script that was actually, or the letter that was actually prepared, for her beforehand. So what do you think we're going to see in the coming days in all of this?
Well, in the coming days, we are going to see what arrangement they have reached behind doors. Obasa may be asked to keep his speakership so that he does not ever dream of going to become governor of Lagos State. And so he would say, if I'm not going to be governor, then I want to retain my speakership. If not, I have enough influence within the party to give you trouble, even though you may win at the end, but I would have decimated your numbers. He's been there for 10 years, and he's been in this party for, God knows how long. And it's part of the inner caucus of the so-called GAC that runs Lagos parties and Lagos political life. So that's the point.
All right, so we're going to round off this conversation right about now. Thank you so much, Christopher Ojekere, for being here. And of course for sharing and giving insights of all that we had to talk about today. This is This Morning on ITV.